good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. Hope you had a great weekend. And no doubt you would have been part, that is to say, as much as you like current affairs, you would have been part of the whole conversation on EO6, abbreviation of Executive Order 6, signed by President Muhammadu Buhari in July. And at the time, he had called it a milestone when he was signing it, a milestone in the fight against corruption. Well, it was challenged by two lawyers, went to court, and the reason we're having this conversation is that Justice Ijeoma Ojukwu has ruled that the president is entirely within his powers as constitutionally provided for. And he could go ahead and indeed sign the executive order, and also explained copiously, subject to it not infringing on the rule of law in any way, shape, or form when it comes to seizure or forfeiture of assets. She, directed her attention to the Attorney General of the Federation. They must come to court for an order of the court before that can be done. And, well, generally putting all sorts of strictures around it to show that it wasn't as if this was draconian. And in any case, the thing is based on provisions already existing. It's just that the Executive Order 6, as we were told, was to collate all of this, codified it, and then, just let every single agency of government be aware that this is the plan, this is the game plan. Opposition, of course, has said there's a lot to be faulted in it. And not just opposition, even lawyers. Just looking at it, some lawyers have taken exception to it. So we thought we'd have this conversation this morning. There are different aspects of it. All the ones that I've just, spoken about in ever so brief a way to one side. Then the travel ban has, raised something of a furore, leading to charges of, being autocratic. One lawyer said that apart from being autocratic, he wasn't even sure whether it was just autocratic or whether it was superfluous, seeing as these provisions were already in place. Garba Shehu has sort of helped all of us by saying that, oh, and by the way, the list of, Garba Shehu that there was a list of, he didn't say 50, a list of no less than 50. That's the way Garba Shehu put it. A list of no less than 50 persons are on the watch list. I don't know if that led to Michael Zekoma, SAN, I listened to him on television this morning, and he said he had a source on Google, on the internet, that quotes 150. But Garba Shehu has said that there is no list. I said that slowly, just so that it would sink in. There is no list as released by the federal government. With that preamble, I hope it was short, let me bring on the two lawyers that are going to help us understand this whole matter a lot better. Monday Onyekachi Ubani, former National Vice Chair, MBA. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
It's a coincidence. Thank you very much.
Vice President.
Oh, Vice President. It's not Vice Chairman.
Second.
Okay, second Vice President. Thank you very much.
That's correct.
Barrister Monday Onyekachi Ubani. And Dr. Fasi Yusuf. In fact, I should say Chief Dr. Fasi Yusuf is also a communication consultant. Thank you very much for coming on as well.
Thank you.
Let me start with you, if I could, Fasi. What is the furore all about? I tried to very, very briefly, put it all within a few minutes. What do you think the furore is all about?
Well, we're in the season of politics. The general elections coming up pretty soon. And the action and inaction of government will be subject to analysis, will be subject to interpretation. But generally, there's nothing fastidious, there's nothing sacrosanct about EO6, that is Executive Order number 6. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, it's been validated by the High Court, as you mentioned in your introduction. But again, there are two more upstairs to go if anybody is not pleased with that judgment. You have the Court of Appeal, you have the Supreme Court.
She did say so.
So we have the Supreme Court.
Anybody not pleased with it could come to the court.
I cannot understand the controversy or whatever so-called that's been generated.
Exactly.
If anybody's not, comfortable with what the High Court has said, you can go to the Court of Appeal, you can go to the Supreme Court. In any case, If at the end of the day you feel your liberty is threatened, you are at liberty to appeal. I mean, to approach the court to seek for your enforcement of your fundamental rights. So to the extent that our people will read any meanings into any action or inaction of government, and that is where I have that problem of trying to decipher what is actually happening.
Onyekachi, a phrase lawyers use from time to time, every right-thinking member of society, I would have thought, would be understanding of this, because it doesn't affect all Nigerians. It only affects those under investigation for corruption and where the assets in question are up to 50 million naira, and the reason being, don't dissipate the whole content, the whole charge. Don't dissipate it, don't trade in it, let it be there, let it be preserved for the duration of the case.
Yeah, Yori must understand the fact that this executive order 6 is not the first executive order.
It isn't?
There has been executive order number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is number 6.
And there are more.
There are more that
number
may likely
8.
come. Now, what you need to understand is that nobody has raised any issue with all the previous executive orders that the president has actually signed, because we borrow from America. Their constitution.
Vice President Shubajo,
yes,
signed 3 in a row.
Beautiful. And in carrying out his executive responsibilities, the president of the country, by practice in America, is allowed to sign executive orders in aid of carrying out that executive function that has been assigned to him constitutionally. Like when the president signed executive order, which is in aid of ease of doing business, because there has been an issue, the investors in Nigeria coming to Nigeria must have a friendly environment within which to come in. And we have had issues with the customs and other government agencies, being a cog in the wheel. So that executive order was to clear all that processes, making it easy for any, prospective investor to come into the country. He didn't hear any person raise any, because it is in aid of the executive powers of the president. Now, when the executive order now goes beyond acts that are purely executive, now does an act that is a bit legislative and judicial in nature, then there is issue of problem coming up there. People will now raise issue and say, look, we are practicing what we call democracy, and that is what we call separation of powers. You must try as much as possible to ensure that whatever executive powers you are signing is in aid of executing the powers given to you by the Constitution. The moment that executive power now infringes upon other arms of government, legislative and judicial, then there's going to be a problem. So this other one that is now in contention, I'm coming now.
What you just said is what Justice Ojukwu said.
Yes. What I'm saying now is that why people had to go to court under executive order number 6 is because of the fact that there is a little bit of penalty now coming in, which can only be exercised by another arm of government, and that is the judiciary. The moment you begin to penalize somebody, it is only judiciary that can say this person is guilty, and then make pronouncement as to the consequences of your action.
How do you penalize?
Beautiful. When you now say somebody's property is now forfeited, even though the word used is forfeiture, whereas the right word would have been dissipation, that people should not be allowed to dissipate that property until the final judgment is. You are now entering into a realm, and that's why people went to court. But the court now strengthened the legality of that action. I said, look, if it is in order of allowing this property not to be dissipated, pending the final determination of their cases, there is no problem with that. It is constitutional. It is allowed. I see the court. But the moment you want to exercise that power as an executive, please come back to the court. Don't ever in any way take any action that is punitive in nature for an accused person when the court has not made any pronouncement. Okay. Are you following me? So these guys, as he rightly pointed out, may likely still go further to Court of Appeal and Supreme Court to get the final order. Now, the next thing we now hear, when the court now really gave, didn't give any blanket listen to the executives, you go ahead now and begin to infringe on the right of individual.
No, the court threw out the suit for lack of merit.
No. What I'm saying, the court, it threw out that particular decision because what they were contending was that the act of the president was unconstitutional. And the court said, look, it is constitutional, but anytime the executive want to do this, still have to come back to court. So you must understand the fine, argument of the judge in this matter. As we said, people will still want to, pursue that matter to Court of Appeal and so. But when you now come to issue of exercising power that is now judicial under that executive order, and you now say somebody should not travel, you are now entering into another realm.
I hear you.
Where there is going to be a problem, and that's where there's a problem.
Okay, Fassi, would you pick up that thread, please? Because Justice Juku had observed that this is, that all her comments and her position is subject to the fact that it cannot infringe on the doctrine of separation of powers.
See, my own interpretation is to strengthen the prosecution of these cases. You see, because the problem is already there in the FCC Act, in the ICPC Act, and what have you. And again, from what I read, even though Grabashi was saying that that is not the correct list, it goes beyond the...
He even said there is no list.
The corruption.
Okay.
It goes into trafficking in persons and NDLEA and what have you. But with that as explained, let's agree there's no list. The point I'm making is this, is to strengthen the operations of all these agencies. And again, it is not an absolute. If you feel that your liberty is being threatened, you are free to approach the court for interpretation and to even claim damages. For example, now, if you are to travel abroad and you're prevented from traveling, it's for you now to approach the court. And look, I was prevented from traveling, and I need the government to tell me why. And it's for the court now to look at what is before to now decide, look, the government you oughtn't to have done this. Now, because the man was unable to travel, we will award damages and what have you. So there's no circumstance about it. We're just making the mountain out of a molehill.
Because, well, as you said, it's the season. Yes. But then
and again, who are those people talking?
Okay.
My brother here just came back. I saw him on the channels on Skype when he was in Rome. Was he prevented from traveling? He wasn't prevented from traveling. Those who have problems with the government are those secret cows who either to were untouchable.
Exactly.
And that's where the problem lies. These are people that have brought this country to its knees. And therefore, what can we do? We are living in a period that corruption must be tackled. We cannot continue to use the old methods where a lawyer will go to court, the case will be there for 20, 30 years.
I was listening to a conversation on this very subject earlier this morning, and someone threw in President Buhari at an MBA conference where he observed that, look, in certain instances, rule of law would take a second or back.
He grouped in that
yes. So somebody brought that up. Said, look, this is the head of an administration that is speaking like this, and it's the beginning. So it's like, in that particular instance, maybe the president handed them, some stuff with which to work. But when you look at it, it's not absolute, as Fassi has said. It's not absolute. It's only certain people that are being investigated and have cases. Until these cases are disposed of, they shall not have access to all of these assets. And as we said, at the risk of repeating ourselves, Justice Ojukwu has said that you can't go very, very far without the order of the court. You need to do some of those things that might be referred to as punitive. You come to the court. If you want to freeze somebody's assets, you come to the court for permission. Seize property, come to the court for permission. So really, there's it's a difficult thing to find what the hullabaloo is all about.
Yeah, Chief Yori, we must avail this government, quality advice.
Sure.
At every point in time. And we must, remove sentiment.
Sure.
Oh, because some certain persons are involved, those who run the country aground, are involved. Oh, let's kill all of them. That this sentiment, get at them.
Nobody has said that.
I'm coming, sir. Please, allow me to express myself. That I'm on social media. I raise these issues and I see reactions of Nigerians, even the educated and uneducated and not. And I see some sentiments coming in. My colleague is saying, I traveled to Rome, I just came back, I was not. It can be any person tomorrow. They can just wake up and say, you're a target and all that. And because of the fact that the law is there, you can become a target. So I'm saying, let's try as much as possible to advise government at every point in time to do the right thing, take every step. Don't even say, oh, let them go to court. It is not even a good advice. If a government can do certain things that doesn't require people going to court to go and challenge its action and all that, it is the best for that government. So we must be very brilliant enough, we must be wise enough, we must also be bold enough to tell the government that is in power that this is a correct step to take. So I didn't think that government availed itself of quality advice in doing what they have just done and all that. And this issue of somebody who is offended can go to court and all that is not the best way for us to handle this matter. We must say it the way it is. Does the government... Can I finish? Does the government have any power, sir? So let me finish, sir. Let me ask you, sir. Does the executive have any power under our laws today to ban any citizen who has not been convicted by the law court from traveling abroad? And I say no. Because those guys who, whether their names will be released later or no, are those who are probably facing the trial process already before they were, released. Before they were granted bail, so their passports were seized. If you want your passport, you still have to go back to the same court and make an application. Oh, you want to go abroad or what? It allows you, and then give you a condition under which those, you are granted bail. So they're already being tried. Those issue of restriction of movement is already there by the court. Says, look, if you want to travel, come back and all that. So it is being superfluous. Naming those people again, that their property should not be dissipated, because already, even under EFCC Act, their properties are not supposed to be until the matter is finished and all that. So I don't see all this we are engaging in things that are superfluous. We're engaging even in attracting hatred for the government of the day. We're engaging in energy in fighting corruption, in quote, whereas the fight is not there. I'm going to talk about fighting of corruption. Okay, one aspect of fighting of this corruption is of arresting people. There are 1 million ways we have not fought corruption. When this government say government change, I thought there are many other things we're going to do rather than issue of arresting people. It's only one. One is a minutest part. How do these guys avail themselves so much money in the system? Stole billions. Have we closed that gap? Issue of awarding contract. You want to supply AC in Nigerian contract. We know that AC is 200,000 naira per one. The government will quote 5 million for one particular AC, and is approved. Have we stopped it? What makes a governor to have so much access to the treasury without any checks and balances? Have we stopped it? So I think that is one aspect. Arresting people who allegedly committed that corruption act is one aspect. We need to put a structure in place, which is not being in place now, going by what I'm seeing.
And of course, both of you are lawyers, and understandably, you are subjecting everything that is being done to the test of the law. I mean, that's what you're saying.
There's no sentiment, no?
But the president said in July when he was signing this that EO6, Executive Order 6, is a milestone in the fight against corruption. This is not something that has been done before. Now we've done it, and it's causing consternation. Why?
Well,
everybody is concerned.
To some extent, I will agree with my brother, Mr. Ubani. The government communication strategy might be devoid of professionalism.
Okay.
But you see, a desperate situation requires a desperate remedy. For example, now, in Britain, there's a new law now on welcome wealth order or something. I mean, act to the extent that you are to prove that this thing was legitimately obtained.
Acquired before you bring it here.
No, there.
Okay.
There. So, ordinarily.
Oh, within their own
yes, law. Ordinarily, they will have to prove that, yes, this thing was stolen or corruptly obtained. But now, they are shifting the onus. The burden on you, the owner of that property, to say, look, this property has been legitimately obtained. The same thing in America. When terrorism was eating America, there were so many things that were done to reduce terrorism. You remember, America is the bastion of democracy, bastion of liberty. But they took some measures which were not in sync with the constitution of America. But then they said it ought to be done because it was a special situation. So I will agree to the extent with my line colleague that, look, government ought to have done certain things. For example, now, this secretive vote and all the rest, Why is it not possible for us to know? Why should anybody just take the money, 50 million, 1 billion every month, without accounting for it? Why are we having all these people who you really know them before they get there? You know, but you may know them and not the rest. We know them, but immediately they get there, they turn to something else.
When the president said that this was a milestone, and you've also said
I've not seen any milestone there. Personally.
Yes,
but I support.
When he said that he's signing it, and the whole concept was a milestone, and you've just said that in other jurisdictions, because they were extenuating, special circumstances was the explanation as to why there might be some constitutionality issues, but they were special circumstances. I just want to know if we think that the corruption in cancer that we have in this country, does it qualify as a special circumstance?
More than.
That is
more than.
Qualify as a
If you
special
remove corruption
circumstance?
in Nigeria, you've resolved 95% of our problems.
I just came back from Rome. I've been to all countries. I thought, maybe this is only with Britain and all. Smaller countries in Europe. Oga, smaller countries in Europe is as beautiful. All the roads, look at the airport. There is no single airport in Nigeria that qualifies as a local airport anywhere in the world. Talking about Morita and Nnamdi Azikiwe, they are not qualified to be a local airport in any city in America. But we call them international airport. Look at...
So that's where we want to be,
so
and that's where we can afford to be. But that's where we have been prevented from being.
Yes, we have the resources. Now, in doing this, somebody who, if 100% of the reason why we canvassed for Buhari as a president was this issue of fighting corruption, I said, this is it. The man, whoever packaged this for him has done him a good job. I'm going to vote this man in. And I canvassed. I stuck out my neck. And what was I doing when I was doing that? I said, look, if this man comes in and study what this corruption, he must have studied how corruption is, has really enveloped this country, and stop it from the nip it in the bud. That would be it. So that even 20 years, 30 years, our kids, will begin to enjoy this.
But if you can't nip it in the bud, you can outflank it, which you might say is one of the things that Buhari is doing. He's outflanking corruption as best as he can.
The psychology, the sociology, the philosophy of corruption. You need to study it. Now, what makes somebody to be corrupt? You deal with it just like they did in Singapore. What are the ways that people are encouraged to be corrupt? You close it. That is, you must study the aside sociology, psychology, philosophy, all the psychologies of corruption. You stop it. Arresting people who have committed is only one.
Yes.
It's only one aspect.
Yes.
There are more 100 ways of the issue of a contract, over inflated contract in civil service. Have we stopped it? The issue that when you are traveling, these guys keep on asking you for money. They are not even ashamed. Nobody asks anywhere in the world. Have you stopped it? The police, you go and report a crime, police must take money. Even for that matter to be continued to be investigated, they will take money. So have you stopped it? The thing is still on. So what are we fighting?
But we have, as Fasi said in a different context, we have a desperate malady.
Yes.
It requires a desperate...
Excuse me.
Desperation in every aspect of life,
I align myself
arresting one person.
I align myself with the submission of my colleague. You see, corruption, eradication or corruption work is devoid of strategy.
Yeah.
It's devoid of professionals who are versed in the area of psychology,
That's right.
philosophy, mind management, sociology, and all the rest. You see, there are so many areas. What are those things that make people to be corrupt?
Exactly.
I'm trying to understand it. You're trying to analyze how we got to be corrupt as a nation. But the fact is, we already are corrupt, and it is killing us.
Listen.
So we've got to stem it first.
The point now is that it is when you are caught, you are seen to be corrupt. If you are not caught, the society does not believe you are corrupt. Because corruption is in many ways. You get to an office, your security man says, okay, somebody is looking for you. If that visitor treats your security man well, the next time he comes around, you welcome.
Yeah.
But if he does not, you say, okay, no day. So it starts from there. So
yes,
this is big time corruption you are talking about.
We're dealing with billions and billions and billions of dollars.
It starts from there.
You know what we're addressing is that the milestone that you mentioned, that when the president signed EO6, he says it's a milestone. That is not a milestone for me, for people who understand what
interpretation.
It's not. Because what he has done is, it's already in the EFCC Act. The moment EFCC discover that you are being investigated for
goes to court.
You know what they do? They go, all those properties you have acquired, they will go to court and get an ex parte order that you should not touch them until
renewable.
So which they renew and order. So for God's sake, it's already there. They are doing it. I have a client. I have an issue, and all the properties the woman has acquired, they listed it and attached it.
Maybe that is
why.
What
is milestone about EO6?
Well, I don't know. Maybe that is why I have heard some commentators have said that. The timing of this, they don't see how it really benefits the
time. I don't know about the timing. I don't know about the timing.
The present government. The timing. Somebody said something about, look, this is the time when the government doesn't want to, be fishing for enemies or looking for people that will regard it with a problem. But look, if you don't have a problem,
yes.
Look, maybe he used you as an example, but it was a very good one. You were speaking, thank God for technology, you were speaking from Rome the other day, because nobody dare look you in the face and tell you you don't have any right to move.
I agree with you.
Sure,
Not because I am not involved. Does not mean that I will not advise the government to do the right thing.
Yes.
Oh, because I'm free. Because it can be me tomorrow, it can be him tomorrow.
This sometimes is the problem with law from the point of view of the ordinary man. Of course, it's not a problem to the teachers and the students and the practitioners of law. But even you yourself say that it's an ass sometimes. We know 99.9%, but the law says it's not enough. 99.9% is not enough. Where is that last 0.1%? Put it, or this man will walk free. Now, that's what we've been doing. That's what we've been doing. And you are saying that, look, and I know it's exaggerated a bit, if you don't have that 0.001% to make it 100, no, he's not guilty.
No, we're not even talking about proof. No, you are bringing proof. We're not even talking about proof.
I know, but you are saying that the government is prosecuting, it is going to court. Ezekiel added in his own conversation, he's also being a jailer. It's stepped on, it's taking some aspects from the legislature, taken from the judiciary, all of that. And I'm saying, well, we can follow what you guys are saying intellectually. We can follow it. But the point is, just looking at this whole thing and knowing that there are horrible things going on clearly, but prove it seems to be the answer. Prove it that I can't afford that plane, that I don't own that plane, that I don't own that Rolls Royce, that I don't have a right to. Prove it. That's where we're at now.
Now you have delved into that.
Yes.
Can we take just 2 minutes and educate people on this?
As soon as Wale has been holding on for the past 2 minutes. So let me get Wale in on this conversation. Good morning, Wale.
Good morning, sir. Sorry.
Thank you very much for calling in.
Thank you, sir. And your fellow analyst in the house.
Yes.
Lori, please let me just ask Barrister Obano one question. And let me just ask the whole nation. Can the police come to his house and burgle his house and ask the police to leave the burglars alone, that what he needed to do is to make sure he prepare more security in his house, that when that one is now done, they can now be able to be looking to aspects and be able to handle the burglar that can come to his house. Because if you are saying we are going to handle a matter whereby all the people that have this problem with Nigerian problem, looters, all these people, we should leave them without handling and do anything with them. That what we need to do is to secure where they are having all this problem, maybe the way they are looting Nigeria. This is a big problem for us. We need to handle all of them at the same time. For example, now if they hold anybody offensive of all these things, is let them punish the person, whoever that wanted to do it next time.
Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we've got to go on a break right now. Welcome back. I've got two lawyers in front of me, and we're trying to understand provisions of the law and the Constitution vis-a-vis what is going on, governance in our nation, and in particular about President Muhammadu Buhari's Executive Order 6. As I was saying, but we had to rush off to a break, the law is no problem. In fact, nobody's complaining about the law. Society will break down. We wouldn't even have this society. But that law is not accessible to anybody.
But everybody complain about the Constitution.
That law is not... Of course, you complain. You have complained about every single time you come here, unless there's no opportunity, you refer to the fact that it's a lie. It starts out with a lie. So we know about that. The law is not acceptable to the ordinary Nigerian that is suffering this whole thing. Yes. And I was making that ridiculous comparison about the court and the law, and a smart lawyer requires 100% proof. When they are both satisfied that 100% proof one way or the other, that's when they let go of it. Where is Mama Sikira's access to the law? Where is Metaba Sule's access to the law? But the millionaires can afford the Monday Obanis, they can afford the Falanos, they can afford the Fasis, they can afford the Ezekomes.
I'm a very cheap lawyer.
You've left, you limit yourself to teaching. You know.
No,
so that's the point I'm making, that it's a tough one. People think they know who the bad guys are, but there's the problem of the law thumbing up, prove it.
So, as I said earlier, if you go to these developed countries, you know what they do? They have put a system in place that if you, A, is accused of a crime, and they bring you before the court, the evidence will be so unassailable, will be so much built up against you that you cannot escape that crime. That's what we're saying. Now that we are arresting those we have allegedly, assumed that they commit. I'm coming. Let me finish now. Let me finish.
There are technicalities
involved. You are disturbing my thought process. Let me finish. You have not landed. You are disturbing me. Now you are prosecuting these people, sir. Just get me. You are prosecuting these people now.
Yes.
And then when these people committed this crime, the system has always been lax. We have so much laxity in the system. Now what you need to do now is to put structure in place that if tomorrow commits crime, he will not escape it. Why? Because the system has become so tightened.
But the one of yesterday,
so the one of yesterday, you still have to prove. But if you don't prove it, you cannot on sentiment convict any person because it's proved beyond reasonable doubt in criminal offense. But the most important thing for us in this fight against corruption is putting structure so that tomorrow, next tomorrow, my children will have a country that is running for their own
that
interest.
Is looking forward. I agree with you.
No, but what these other ones we have arrested now, the ones we have to prove. You still have to prove. You cannot become sentiment, go and throw them into jail. You still have to prove.
But where is sentiment? Where have you seen evidence of sentiment?
Somebody just has a question now. Do I have to tell a policeman to go and this and that? I say, if the policeman has committed a crime, you have caught him and you have that evidence, the next thing is to take him to court and then let the court now hear the evidence. And it must be unbiased evidence. It must be ingredients of evidence must be there. Let me tell you what they do in most of these
so that will be your answer
security
to
agencies. Yes, sir. Security agencies. Most time I look at the statement of an accused person and the witnesses.
Yes.
They don't usually reflect the ingredients of the offense because you, who is an investigator, must have knowledge of the law. You must have small knowledge of the law. This is a crime now, crime of murder. What are the ingredients of murder? You now get those witnesses to make sure that in their statement, they will put it. The moment those ingredients are not there, he's a lawyer, he's a PhD holder. If you don't, you come, no matter go and hire Rotimi Williams as a prosecutor. The man will go scot-free. You know why he's going to go free? Because the ingredients of the offense is not proved.
But if you have professionals in the system,
so that's what we're not saying.
If you have professionals, how can that be?
Retraining of police officers, EFCC officers who are investigators is very important.
Yes. The point has been made that the government must put in place structures that will enable them to prosecute and get the desired effect.
I'm going to come back to you, Fasi, but I got to interrupt you for now. But I'm coming straight back to you because Olugbenga in Warri has been waiting. Good morning, Olugbenga.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you very much for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. The two people you have in your studio are lawyers, and I want to ask. Hello?
We can hear you.
Okay. I want to ask, part of the problem we have in fighting corruption is the attitude of lawyers in Nigeria. The lawyers go to police stations to bail people, and the police ask for money, and the lawyers end up saying, and you know the way it is, you have to give them something. When the law says you should not pay money to bail people, for this fight against corruption to succeed, the government is doing their part. We as citizens, we need to do our own part. Until we begin to play our own part and begin to resist corruption, the fight cannot be won. It is not something that government alone can successfully do until we, especially lawyers, begin to play their part. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Let me return to you as a promise.
Yes, I agree with the last caller. But to the extent that not every lawyer engages in unprofessional conduct. You see, in every system, there's no absolutism. Some are bound to be bad, and majority, especially in the legal profession, are bound to be good. So if any lawyer decides to turn the law against himself, that's his problem. I mean, he's caught. Too bad.
He will face the music. Yes, I think there are such lawyers
yes.
that have been
and
convicted.
Even as we say today that the police is corrupt, not every one of them is corrupt. It's just that what are we doing to put all these structures in place that will be fraud-proof?
Okay. Now, the other one is the fundamental human rights, freedom of movement. They think there's an infringement. When I say they, I'm talking about those who are speaking against this, that, look, we can still be we can still be fighting corruption without infringing, if that is the word, on
on the liberty
of the accused. Of the accused.
Yes, the judge has said that much. That, look, if there's anything dealing with the liberty of any suspect, or anything dealing with the property of any suspect, you have to approach the court to get an order. So, and that is the provision in the EFCC Act.
Exactly.
So
the problem is the president's
that's why I
EO just wrote all of this together.
I've not seen any novelty in the EO 6, and that perhaps it would have been better if that EO 6 was not put in place at all. Okay. But that won't be in place. It's just to reinforce, to buttress what the laws of the various acts have said.
It is said that the Immigration Department has been
on alert.
Has been directed to maximally enforce, the provisions of EO6.
But we all know too well that I won't say that you have let out your strategy. In cases where people will move out of this country without using the borders. There was a time, during Nadeko, Wale Soyinka left this country, Tinubu left this country without passing through the borders. Even some of them, they pass through the borders yet. Disguised. For example, if I want to get out of this country, I will get out of this country and nobody will know.
You disguise as a woman?
No, I'm not even disguised.
Because somebody has done that?
No, because there's no thorough search. And corruption will not allow them to do their job.
So it goes back to the last caller who says that we, the people, have to also do our own part. Government and policy
we should know what is corruption.
But you see, the executive order thing, it's all about policy. Oh, Yakubu, my apologies. Thank you very much, Yakubu, for calling in.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think, with due respect to Mr. Barrios Ubani, is one of the persons I always follow through all social media and then television houses, including radio.
But this morning.
And then good morning to Mr. Fasi. You see, for me, I think when a situation where executive in the country are looking towards the legislative to make a law whereby to make it easy for them to fight corruption, and then the law are not coming from them. So that is why they will use executive order to prosecute whoever they find out like this.
Yakub, sorry. There are two lawyers in the house. You yourself, observed as much. An executive order is not a law.
I agree with you.
And you cannot prosecute with it.
See, it's very what I'm saying.
Because, okay.
The situation whereby they are giving the governor of the
It's a policy
security force
initiative.
And then we have a National Assembly whereby we are not making a law whereby they will give other citizens of this country to ask questions about that security force. That's number one. Number two, I think I may be wrong. I think there was a country or a developed country whereby they will pronounce you guilty and then you go to court to pronounce yourself that you are not guilty. I think it's
a French
system.
In China. In China today, if they caught you as a corrupt person, You know yourself that you are dead.
Yes.
If a station that something like that in our law in this country, and then the question will come from Barrister Obani is not that. When a thief has been killed in this country, the thief have never been stopped. They are still armed robber and all that. Yes, I agree. But do you know that the corruption makes people go and killing people in order to acquire a lot of wealth? If there is a punishment, death by penalty or death by hanging for corrupt leader and then corrupt office holder, I think the armed robber will reduce drastically. That is my own point of view. Executive order number 6, I think it is okay if we will be ready to fight the corruption. That is what my opinion this morning. Thanks and God bless you.
Thank you very much. And he observed, very painful for him to conclude in that way because Barrister Obani is somebody that he doesn't miss. He follows him on radio, on TV. But this morning,
he agreed with me virtually. No, Yakubu is a friend. Let me say this. We need to help ourselves. We are saying the same thing. I want corruption to be stamped out of our system. As I said earlier, 100% of the reason why some of us talk at our neck for President Buhari is this fight against corruption. And we want him to succeed in it.
But without infringing on the law.
In doing it, there are so many ways. And I want him to succeed in this fight.
Including these ones that have been done.
Yeah, if he doesn't succeed in this, it's a complete failure for all of us. So, but I want him to do it in such a manner that he will be a success. For now, they are doing it wrongly. Okay. And they will run into a problem. They will run into a problem because at the end of the day, the matter will still go to court. Look at what happened with all the judges. They invaded their homes.
All right.
Remember what happened? Now, almost all the cases now have been thrown out. You know why? Because it was done wrongly. And we don't want
to
wrong
talked
steps.
about a lack of professionalism in the investigation.
Please, sentiment.
So people are escaping on technicalities.
Hello, sir. A lot of my followers, most of them are very sentimental. When I have issues educating them, sometimes I say, God, can you, even that's why I was teaching Know You Are Right, in the radio station. I have a problem in getting them to understand me, especially on this issue of fight against corruption. I want it to be stamped, but I want the government to do the right thing. Let us not, because of sentiment, encourage wrong acts on the part of the presidency.
Collins Sure, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you very much for calling in, sir.
Thank you, studio.
Please go ahead.
Hello. Okay. The thing I want to say is that my people need to say something that if you know the cause of the disease, then you are almost halfway of treating that disease. Where we got ourselves into this place started with Obasanjo, the Mohammed regime. When they dismissed all those civil servants, they destroyed the civil service. Before the advent of their own, a level 7 officer can even stop a permanent secretary on its track when they want to do dubious things. We have the general order, we have financial instructions. By now, nothing like that is going on. That even a level 7 officer can tell you this thing is not possible because they have a guideline of how to spend government money.
That's right.
I was in Niger State. I lived in Niger State for a long time. When Guadabe was there was an accountant, the accountant general. Guadabe wrote on a piece of paper for him to deliver money to the government house. He said, "Who? I will not do that." Yes. Guadabe sacked him the following day. This man, Babangida, the man is a respected person in Niger State. We have to ask him to retake him. Now, even now, as at the moment, the military puts us much into this thing. Even as at now, most of our governors are operating like democratic military government. So, if you look at the money being stolen by the political office holder, and you look at the money going to the civil service, into the civil servant from corruption, so one side, public office holders are taking, civil servants are taking hundreds. If we make the law, the civil service law, to operate effectively, we are going to get better results. I'm not saying that those who have already committed the offense should not be listened, but I want to ask the lawyers there, if somebody has something that is beyond his needs, is it the government that is to prove? The person is to prove how he got that money. Somebody who has been a civil servant for 35 years, having hundreds of houses, and you now say the government should come and prove how he acquired that money. Is it possible?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for calling in. I really get you, and I appreciate your comments, Collins. And so that goes back to the heart of the matter. Yes. Because I know there's an ivory tower aspect to this. There's a courtroom aspect to this. But there also is a factual aspect to this. The billions and billions and billions of naira didn't develop legs and walk away. It was stolen. They were all stolen. Now, the matter is that, we know it was stolen, but come and prove it.
Yes.
Come and prove it.
Sorry?
Look, we've got to understand this thing.
The first problem I have in this country is we overcopied the presidential system of government. The parliamentary system made room for some accountability.
Yes.
But the presidential system is winner takes all. You see, what's happening now, if you are appointed a minister, you bring in all your people.
All your people.
Special advisor, special assistant, personal assistant.
Yeah.
Whereas, during the military and during the parliamentary system, you will inherit those people that work with you from the system because they are to implement. You see, the civil service is the engine room of government. But when people are brought from outside, who don't subscribe to the general orders, to the civil service rules and all the rest, they are not
This will dilution of the structure.
Yes, they are not bound. See, because most of these ministers, they go with our 30 employees and what have you, to the extent that they've destroyed the civil service.
Okay.
And the civil service, all they wanted now is to kill.
Exactly. The some people are saying that now is our turn. You know, that kind of a thing, syndrome. Mr. George, good morning. Thank you for calling in.
We've not actually treated the corruption the way we should treat it.
And good morning to your guest.
Thank you.
In the past, Nigerian Bar Association, NBA, used to be at the vanguard of justice and good governance in Nigeria. But since Buhari came to power, they are very first to oppose anything he does against fighting corruption policy. When the judges were found with amount of money that they cannot prove to be theirs, they were the first to come out to condemn it. Executive order has come again, they come out and condemn it. Anything about fight against the corruption, it is NDA members that will come and condemn it, saying it should have been done this way or that way. Which way is it going to be done that would be pleasing to them? Uncle Yori, let me give you a classical example of this, of why I think the government may have introduced this travel ban. There was this case where the Deputy Senate President was investigated to have got 37 properties, majority of which were outside the country. By the time it came to the point of prosecution, it was discovered that he went abroad and has sold most of the properties out. What is wrong? Do you know what the government has in mind by saying that if you are on trial for those confiscated properties, that you should not go out? Do you know what the reason why they must have done that? Everybody does say, no, it is an infringement against personal. If any of them want to prove that they are innocent, they know what to do. They can go to court and say, look, I have every reason why I should be able to travel. And he will prove it before the judge. I'm sure they will be granted the permission to go abroad. One cannot approbate and be reprobation at the same time. If you want to fight corruption, you must have to step on some toes. Every step that the government takes, you see, the lawyers will be the first to come out and say, look, you have done it wrongly.
All right.
Which way?
Okay.
Is the government going to do it that will be pleasing to lawyers? This is my question this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well, the lawyers are in the very happy position of actually being able to benefit from both sides of the issue.
No, he has nothing to do with personal interest.
I just said I should add my own 2 pence.
No, can I say this? Yeah, it's your 2 pence, but it's a wrong 2 pence.
No, it's not a wrong 2 pence. It's not a wrong 2 pence because you people will defend a rogue. And at the same time, wait.
No, that's the problem of the law now. Is it that of ignorance?
Did I say anything different?
Is it that of ignorance?
Did I say anything different?
No, is that of ignorance?
Let's educate the people.
We are
don't compound the problems of lawyers.
I'm not on sentiment,
No. You're right. Let me just take that back. A person must, before you can call a person a rogue, a court must have said he's guilty of thieving something, right?
That's right.
So, therefore, to all lawyers, every accused person walking around is as
To every
innocent as
person,
an
that's the
angel.
law.
It's
To every
not
person,
the
you
law.
are presuming innocent. It will be you tomorrow.
You see, this is how we've been doing
but
this
it can
thing
be
from
you
the time
tomorrow, and
Imo
somebody
River.
accuses you. Yeah, but somebody accused you. You are presumed innocent, sir. Until that particular fact is proved. Please, sir, let us know because of sentiment or because other people, the public, want, all of us, all of us want to fight corruption. But let's not act on sentiment. What we're saying is that the government is doing the right thing by making sure that those who have stolen our money are prosecuted.
Okay.
But in doing that, lay a more solid structure, pay more emphasis on deterrence, thing that will deter people from committing corruption.
I've heard that
Nigeria
one.
will be a country,
Because
if they're paying
but
so
the
much.
ones we're dealing with,
Can
those
you
of
allow me?
yesterday.
I am a guest in your television. Can you allow me, sir? You are only listen. You must allow a situation where you pay emphasis on deterrence. Prosecuting these people, you are paying all your attention, 100% of it.
Yes.
You are doing disservice to the nation
Because the future, Barrister Obani.
which is critical to me. I
Yes,
want this
we're
corruption
talking about
to
the future.
stop. I
Now,
want it to stop.
I am saying
lay a solid structure.
yesterday and day before yesterday that has been done. Are we to address it or not?
You are addressing it, but address more of deterrence that in future
Okay.
we are free
All
from
right.
corruption.
Okay.
So,
Do I have someone on the phone? Ibrahim in Kano. Good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Yodi.
Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic today.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, exactly.
He's right. We must live for the future. But the one of yesterday and the day before yesterday.
Address it also.
Mr. Obani. But I don't know, it's like Mr. Obani tried to deviate this morning, actually. Yes. And I also concur on what the last caller have said, isn't it? Because this issue of the order 6 is not only about the banning of maybe or traveling ban on them. Understand? Like the example he has given, you understand? People have access, like what he talked about the Ikwere Madus. You understand? Yeah? So if the president, you understand, cannot go about this, then how is he going to achieve it?
Exactly.
It's like it's a milestone, it's just a process.
Yes.
You understand? So this order has to be on ground. Before now, the president tried to do something, and then there will be the first person to challenge him in the court.
Yes.
And then I know the court also will say, yeah, he has no right. How you are getting me? But it is just a process, and you have to be immune. You understand? You have to have that immunity, and then you have to get the facts
All right.
before he started doing all whatever he have to do. So at least, Mr. Obani, please try.
We're on the same page.
You see, what we have in this country. Yes, I know. Can't we change our legal system?
To the French system?
Yes.
I like that one.
So if you want to, if that will give us some leverage, and then we can make progress.
Because this one is causing confusion.
Yes.
This is
And that's why lawyers have problems with the people.
Let's take
because people might have a very good idea about where they're going. But sorry, the law won't allow you to get there.
People are saying they think that all lawyers should be killed.
No.
Whereas lawyers are just following the law.
Yes, nobody
We're
can say
applying
that.
the law.
Because tomorrow you may be a victim,
Yes.
So, sir, let me say this, Okay, finally, let me, go ahead, sir. Finish,
Okay.
let me
So
round up,
the
sir.
point to be made is that the law as it is what the ordinary lawyer is pursuing. And if we want a change in the legal system,
Yes.
well, we should start the process.
Okay. Or maybe just get better lawyers.
Not better lawyers. No.
What I'm saying is that get lawyers who can prove.
And again, let us
lawyers who are
also
expert and competent.
No, let us also
can go and win the most hopeless case.
Let us also get our people to do the part of rectitude, the part of probity, the part of transparency.
Yes.
So with the Ekwere Madu's case, Ekwere
It's not even proved.
he has not been charged to court and all that. And then all those properties, EFCC have already noted them and all that. So there's no way you can even dissipate them. So I don't want people to give wrong information and whip up sentiment. Let's do the right thing and advise the president to do the right thing.
Well, that's a nice place to leave it. Thank you very much on this very good milestone of President Muhammadu Buhari. That's what he referred to as EO6. He said he it was a milestone. You said it was not a good milestone. I say it is a good milestone. For those of us that don't know the law, it's a very good milestone. Thank you very much.
I'm in support of it.
Exactly.
Some little modification.
Yes. So thank you very much, Onyeka Chiubani, and thank you very much, Dr. Fasi, Chief Dr. Fasi Yusuf. Thank you very much. Very soon I shall be able to add to Onyeka Chiubani's.
It's already chief.
He's chief, but SAN.
Yes,
SAN.
It's a prayer point.
So that's
I also claim it too.
and you too. And you too. So there you go. That's our program today. Please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Iyori Folani. Bye-bye for now.